Hey, good morning. Good morning. I wanted to come on as we continue this conversation around why I'm encouraging people to vote no to Amendment number 1 on the Georgia ballot. As folks were responding to my video on yesterday, and thanks to everybody who shared, thanks to everybody who commented. Shout out to Melissa Phillips because she asked, well, what is the solution? And that is a great question, and it's one that I hope that we can answer together, but one that I'd like to start the conversation around this morning. And I literally only have a few minutes, so I'm not going to be super long this morning, but again, hopefully this is the beginning of a conversation that we can have and that we can continue. So yes, I passionately shared why I choose not to vote in the affirmative for Amendment number 1 on the ballot here in the state of Georgia in terms of the Opportunity School District, and that I am emphatically voting no. If I could vote no 500 times on the same ballot, I would. But now that I'm voting no, and we're hoping and praying that it does not pass, what is the next step? What else has to be done to make sure that our students then are in turn passing their tests, meeting the standards, that they are getting everything that they need in order to be successful? Well, it takes work. There's no quick fix. There's no one-time answer. There's no easy thing to do. It requires all of us working together. It requires all of us being consistent and committed to the work that we're doing in order to see it done. What does that look like? A couple of quick examples are going to our school board meetings. How many of us are attending school board meetings, even if we don't have any issues that our children are facing in schools? A lot of times you see people at school board meetings because something is wrong, because they want to speak out against something. But we're not going to get the information that dictates all these other things that are happening, that once they get to mainstream, everybody's up in arms about them and nobody knows what's going on. For instance, how many people know that there are more schools on the list than APS to be closed? Right? So that's information that you receive when you go to meetings, when you listen intently, and you're able to read between the lines. And then you go back and you share that information with your community members, with your support system, with your families, what have you, in order for you all to get your game plan together or to figure out what to look for next. So even though there's nothing going wrong for you or for your particular school, go to school board meetings. Because school board meetings and school boards work hand in hand with your city or your county. And that is because they want to be able to drive more business and more residents to their particular areas. And a lot of times people either have families or they're starting families, and they want to make sure that they have good school systems. And so those two entities work together a lot more closely than people want to think or believe. So go to your school board meetings, know what is happening, even when things aren't quote unquote wrong, so that you are abreast of what is happening. Secondly, become an advocate not just for your child. Like, I don't understand how, especially our community, got away from feeling as though, hey, Miss Diane, feeling as though somebody else's child is not our responsibility. That is how we got to the place that we're in. I don't know a black family, okay, or a family of color that has not taken in somebody else's child, even if it's an extended family member, a friend of the family. How many of us have aunts and cousins and uncles that have no blood relation to us, but they would fight to the death for us if somebody were to do us wrong? We've gotten away from that, and we have to go back to building community. We have to go back to building a safe place for our parents and our children to feel there is somebody else fighting this fight with me, and I'm not in it alone. So if you have the tools and the resources and the knowledge of how to advocate for your child, begin advocating for somebody else's child as well. All of us don't have access to the same information. All of us don't have access to the same resources. But for those of us who do and don't use it to make sure that other children are safe and progressing, then I feel like we're doing a disservice to us all. Because what is going to happen is that somebody else's child, and your child included, is going to impact my life at some point when they get into the world and they enter the workforce, or they make decisions, be it good or bad. It all goes in a circle. You can't get away from other people. Your decisions impact other folks, and their decisions impact you. We don't have to like it, but it's truth and it's real. So advocate for somebody else's child, just not for yours. Hey, Shakara, your son is in public school. How can you help? Private school they still have a governing body. What is that governing body? What are those meetings that you can attend? What are some activities, be it a rec center or a community league, where your child is engaged with other students in the public school sector? Do they have tutoring programs that maybe you can work with your private school to say, hey, once a month, can we invite students from all schools or all communities to come and engage in some of the resources that we have? I think people have this poverty mindset, even when they have money, thinking that I have to keep what I have, and that if you haven't paid for it, or if there's not a direct benefit to me for letting you use it, then I can't give it away. And that's unfair. It's wrong, at least to me. And it doesn't take away from what you're doing or what you have. So for those who are in charter schools, private schools, what have you, there are resources that you have that can we open them up to other students, even if it's on a very limited basis, right? And then also, it doesn't keep you from going to school board meetings either, just because your child isn't in a public school setting. The third thing that I'll share today, again, like as we keep this conversation going, is make sure that whatever you're good at, you find a way to use it to impact the lives of young people or their parents. A lot of times we forget that parents need support, that parents need some assistance as well. I know parents who have 2 degrees and cannot figure out what base 10 is when it comes to math. I can't figure out what base 10 is when it comes to math, right? So to sit down with a child to help them, to tutor with them, and I have no clue as to what new math is, Common Core math, base 10, whatever it is that you want to call it, it doesn't mean that I don't have a desire to help this child. I literally cannot. So we think about parents who don't even have their high school diplomas, who are working towards their GED, or who graduated but didn't go to college and they chose another career path, and they have not been abreast or attuned to what is happening. How can we expect them to support and help in that capacity if they do not have the skills? So it doesn't mean that you then have to start a tutoring program out of your house, but all of us are connected to something, be it churches or temples or mosques or other religious organizations and institutions, sororities, fraternities, civic clubs, community clubs, neighborhood associations. We are connected to something. Most of us are anyway. Are any of those entities really stepping out and figuring out how to support students and supporting their parents and what it is that they need? So the answer or the solution or the alternative to voting no, it's not easy. It's not a quick fix. And it's not going to be something that we can just do one time. I understand that all of us are called to something different, that all of us have different giftings and different talents. I'm not expecting everybody to jump on this issue with me as passionately as I am connected to it. But this is my life. This is my work. My mother was a teacher for 35 years. I've been in and out of schools really all of my life, right? I, began in education at an early age, and I've been in and around schools for as long as I can remember as an adult, as a professional. Even when I tried to run away from it, I kept getting pulled back into it. So, for me, it is a little bit different. But there is something that we can do, because whether you've birthed children, and I haven't, but it doesn't keep me from wanting the children that I am connected to be better, to dream bigger for themselves, but then to hold the adults around them accountable for their responsibility in it. And so it's going to take all of us. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some commitment. But I believe that it's worth it. It has never been the school's job to completely educate our children. And I think that we've given them way too much control, way too much power, way too much influence over our children's lives. And now, when they're not doing their job, so to speak, or if we listen to the narratives and to the rhetoric, then we have this kind of visceral response to it. Schools were designed to teach children how to be employees. Technology has allowed it to evolve and to grow, but at the base of it, schools were created to teach children how to become employees, how to come to some place on time, how to get your nourishment in 30 minutes or less, how to focus on the task at hand, how to follow instructions, how to figure out how to keep whatever it is that you're feeling inside because your teacher or your supervisor has told you to do something different, how to fall in line, how to only move when being taught. We have to look at all these other things that happen inside of schools. As I was an education major and really learning things about pedagogy and the history of it and, all of that good stuff, that is the reality of it, that schools, the public school system in its modern day form was really designed to make sure that students became great employees. And so while the majority of our students will be employees, not all, but a good number of them will end up working for somebody else and working for somebody else for the rest of their life, even if it is a six-figure job. In the meantime, we need to make sure that our students are well-rounded and that they know how to handle themselves in the world. And that's not necessarily something that's going to come from a classroom. So those are the 3 points. Go to your school board meetings, become an advocate for somebody else's child, not just yours, and be ready to get in the game and to do some work. And so as this election season continues, as we are marching forward to November 8th for Election Day, then I, really am working hard to come to you with nuggets, with, best practices, with next steps, sharing information with you all about things that are happening in the public school sector and system, about programs and other opportunities that we can get plugged into, how you all can continue to support, because really for those of us who are out here telling people to vote no, we have to be ready to do the work after this amendment dies at the ballot box. So thank you all for listening, tuning in, just like yesterday, sharing the video. Hopefully it's something that other people can glean from and learn from, and they can share the information with their networks as well. It's going to take a movement, and it's going to take a group of us, and it's going to take those of us who are committed to the cause. So y'all have a great day. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.